think, because we have been a myeloma center of excellence in Mount Sinai in New York, we were hit with the pandemic right from the get-go. And so the immunology and the virology department, infectious department, they got funding, and they actually had the PCR technique unique at Mount Sinai, which is patented and it's commercially available too. So we were able to check patients out with rapid tests and follow them. Then we also had the antibody measured for the spike protein. And all of this information, we had major presentation in the ASH of our experience and had a high impact publication. And Dr. Samir Parikh, one of my myeloma doctors, was in the NIH and panel to know what the results are. So we had decimated quite a bit of the information. We told that patients do mount antibody. It is important to vaccinate them, but not all patients do make antibody. There are some treatment which kept the antibody from being made at all. That was patients who were on daratumumab and the patients who were on bispecific antibody directed against BCMA and CAR-T, because the plasma cells were wiped out in those cases. They were not able to mount antibody even after the first two vaccination. Then we followed up with the booster vaccination. We found out of the patients who did not make antibody for the first two vaccination, the third booster really made a difference. 70% of the patients who did not make antibody to the first two with the booster, they made it. So that was an important observation. As you know, this is being told by the NIH, NCI, CDC, that booster is very, very important. And now we are looking at the Omicron variation and following. And at least, we haven't put our data together. We are collecting it. But because I field a lot of phone calls, fortunately, unlike the Delta variants or the previous one, the patients are getting it, especially those who are vaccinated. They are able to actually get over it, those who have good antibody. So we are only worried about those group of patients in whom they are not mounted antibody even after the booster, because every patient who came to our center, we were studying them systematically. We were getting their antibodies level checked on a regular basis, monthly or 3 monthly, or whenever they were coming, we were checking. We knew who should be alerted and who should be immediately, made sure that they got the newer antibodies and things like that. So I think keeping very close to as the knowledge evolves and taking care of your patient as if they are on clinical trial, watching their antibody titer. I know for a long time there was no guidance about why do you need antibody, just get the 2 shots. You have been 2 shots, you're okay. You got 3 shots. Not in myeloma. Those are all for the general public, but these are immunocompromised. So I definitely say, please get your antibody checked and know what your antibody is against the spike protein. So the doctors are empowered to channel you to some of the antibodies that are being made available. Even for Omicron, there are some antibodies that are effective, but they are so tightly controlled that we want to channel the right patient, the patients who never had antibody, get the first dip or prophylactically get the antibody and be protected. And that is important.
And when you're talking about getting your antibodies checked, that's a snap in time. Is it important to get them checked periodically to see?
No. Yeah, you hit the nail. This one-time deal, we have all learned it, that the antibody might have gone up and then it starts going down in everybody, even in healthy people. If they are worried about healthy people, let alone myeloma patients who are still getting treatment, going monthly for daratumumab. The job of daratumumab is eliminate plasma cells. It is anti-CD38. CD38 is on plasma cell. It is supposed to wipe out the plasma cell. Plasma cells make antibody. So if you're removing the cells which make the antibody, your antibody titer is going to go down, right? And the same thing for bispecific. CAR-T wipes out the plasma cell once and for all. We hope people will be cured. I'm happy to have personal experience that there are patients who have made 3 years plus after one CAR-T, the cancer hasn't come back. So these are all dynamite treatment, but yet at the same time, we need to know the vulnerability of our patient, myeloma patient. That's why get your antibody done periodically. If you don't want to do it monthly, or your doctor doesn't want to do monthly, at least get 3 monthly, because they are approving the fourth dose now. And myeloma patients are one of the ones who would need the fourth dose potentially, you know?
That's what I was going to ask you about that fourth dose. So
Yeah. So checking the antibody is very important. I may not, I have to be careful, because I have to follow the CDC guideline. I can't be one more radio talk show who gives all these information. So because I'm talking to you, Cynthia, and you are decimating only to the myeloma patient, you got to remember, my words taken out of context could become serious problem for me, especially it's going to be on the video. So we are talking about myeloma patients, immunocompromised, who are still getting treatment like daratumumab, like bispecific against BCMA or CAR-T. Their immune system is vulnerable and eliminated. I say, please check your antibody titer on a regular basis, 3 monthly basis at least. And if your antibody titer goes down, get a fourth booster. I think this would still fall into the CDC, because in the big noise, you don't see the immunocompromised people's data coming out on your on the TV. So that's what I'm saying. But please don't quote me.
I won't take it out of context. I'm not going to sell this video to NBC or CBS. It's just my mind, my inquiring mind wants to know.
Yeah.
Have you found out any information about those DARA or BCMA patients who got a response after their booster? Have they been able to maintain that response, or is it going down, or don't we know yet?
No. So majority of the patients, even on daratumumab, they mount an antibody to the vaccination, but they all need the booster. So as I said, even healthy people, it is going down. It's going down in me because I was on the control arm healthcare people in Mount Sinai. They were allowed to volunteer on a clinical trial. They wanted to see how the healthcare people did, whether we got exposed, we didn't know, and our antibody shot up and things like that. They wanted to see how we did, because you can't be doing nasal swab. So this was another way to study the healthcare. So everybody, from our security guard to lab techs to physician, whoever would volunteer, nurses. So I volunteered. So I did my own antibody titer. I got good antibody titer. I was like on top of the world, 2 vaccinations. I'm immune. And lo and behold, I'm getting older. By the time in November came, it went down. I said, wow, some of my patients had better antibody titer than I did. So I went and got a booster done. And thank God, then it really boosted me up, even better than when I had after the first 2 doses. And so I was happy, knock on wood. I've not been exposed to, I think, to Omicron, and at least not that I know of, but I will know my antibody, because some of my people, nurses, they actually got their antibodies suddenly shot up. Then when we look back, they had a potential exposure, but they never got sick because they had good antibody. But their antibody shot up, their immune system was able to immediately respond to the exposure. So you could tell that they got an exposure, even though they didn't get sick. So it is important. Even for me, the antibody titer goes down. So myeloma patient, it will go down. Patients who are on active treatment, it will go down. So checking it and being boosted is important.
Now, there's this new, I guess, FDA approval of a prophylactic antibody for a certain group of patients. Do you know what the name of that is, and if that's something some myeloma patients may consider?
Ooh, you asked me, I love to ask my nurse, because it starts with SOTO. There are several different drugs which are approved. You are now, each one has this complicated name. So right now, anti-oral medications are becoming available. So yes, a lot of things are becoming available. So that's why I say, Once we get over this hump in February and the overall noise comes down, then suddenly the availability of these drugs will go up, and it'll become very easy even for me to just prescribe without having to go through a committee in my hospital, infectious disease committee, whether my patient can get it or my patient cannot get it, kind of a deal. So I think life will get a lot easier. And, and also, so COVID management is going to get better. And the COVID, because of the population immunity, is going to go up because of the Omicron. I think even the incidence will go down. So we'll all come out of this okay. But for
good.
this coming month, I think everybody should be extra careful. Wear your mask, N95 mask, and limit your visitation externally. All of that. This is the last stretch. It's like your Olympic marathon. Please, the last stretch. Be careful.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your words of wisdom, Dr. Jagannath. That was great.
Thank you, Cynthia. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.